The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Valley, hooey Hollywood, where any office boy or young mechanic can be a panic with just a good-looking pan. And any barmaid can be a star maid if she dances with or without a plan. Hooray for Hollywood, where you're terrific if you're even good. Where anyone at all from Shirley Temple to Amy Semple is equally understood. Go out and try your luck.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premiere podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host. He's hot-blooded. Check it and see. He's got a fever of 103.
I should have seen it coming with that shirt.
Come on, baby. You can do more than dance. Robert Winfree is hot-blooded. Hot-blooded. Ladies and gentlemen, the star of our show and the host of these here proceedings, Robert Winfree. Yay!
I thought it was just a shirt. And then, no, you actually did hit me with Foreigner. I am in pain. Thank you for that.
Double meaning. Hot-blooded, flaming hot.
Yeah. No, I tracked your logic, man.
You know, I did that totally off the cusp. I wasn't even going to sing you in because we have an in-studio audience again tonight. You know, so
that makes it more likely for you to sing. I know you.
Oh, do you know me? Did you walk with me once upon a dream?
I know you like. Much as you complain about the responsibilities that come with being the center of attention, you have no problem having people look at you.
The studio audience is nodding precipitously. All right. Okay, faggot. What's next? What? It's a line from a movie. We're a movie podcast.
That's one of those words, man. They get pissy at you for saying it. You got to at least wait 15 minutes.
Oh, I didn't follow the rules. That's okay. I when I listen back to these and I put them on TikTok and I see the captions that are trying to figure out what it is I mushmouth my way through. There's a lot that gets misunderstood. It's entirely possible that the AI heard me say, okay, maggot, what's next?
That's what it will autocorrect to, because that's one of those slurs that people get touchy about.
Yeah.
And such is life. Language changes.
Indeed.
Get over it.
That's right.
Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing two. Not one, but two. Two. If you're British, that one's for you.
Dose.
We are discussing Flamin' Hot.
Woo!
Okay. And the sequel, Extraction 2. We did not cover the original, but we'll talk a little bit about that, I imagine, because...
I would like to correct the record, Your Honor.
All right.
Alexis and I did a comic strip of Ciudad and Extraction.
Okay.
Because the original Extraction is based on the graphic novel.
Fair.
Ciudad.
So, okay. I did not cover the original, but
No,
it was covered here on the network.
Yes, it was.
So I'll probably talk a little bit about that before we get into that one, but...
I'm not drinking tonight.
Well, that is water you are drinking. If you mean you're not consuming alcohol, then yes, I'm glad.
No, I am not consuming alcohol, Data.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. The colloquialism is drinking when you're drinking alcohol, and everyone else on Earth got that.
Well, I know you could put a lot of different stuff in that bottle.
I'm not telling.
I know.
All right.
So we're doing Flamin' Hot first, just so everyone understands the order here.
Yes, sir.
Now, Mark, having watched this movie now, I have but one question for you.
Yes, sir.
There is the entire infinite shelf, the black morass of streaming films.
Uh-huh.
You could have picked one of hundreds to accompany Extraction 2. I know why Extraction 2 is here. You said, hey, I need another one. And I said, okay, this one.
Well, this was already on the list regardless, but yes.
Yeah. Like this is one of the ones that we'd put on. It was there because the first one was relatively successful and,
Yeah.
Why, Mark? Why Flamin' Hot?
When it was announced that Eva Longoria was doing the wild and woolly history of how the Flaming Hot Cheeto got invented and the rather Republican conservative, pull yourself by your own bootstraps, American dream style story that its inventor has, it was a big deal. I don't know how much of this got in on your Twitter feed, but when they on mine,
my Twitter feed is carefully curated as a general rule.
Well, mine is shit tons of entertainment news sites, and so when it was announced that Eva Longoria was doing
of entertainment,
yes, sir, it was all over my Twitter feed. And then when a date got announced that it was going to air on Hulu, it was again all over my Twitter feed. It was all over social media. There was a big online marketing campaign about this movie. And so I knew that when it came out, it was going to be one that in one of our off weeks, this is an off week, where there was, I guess we could have done Insidious, The Red Door, but meh.
This was off. This was an off week. We both agreed. Something we didn't have to pay extra money for.
Right. That we would backfill with any number of streaming movies that people were paying attention to, because you're right. There were any number of movies through the back catalog of any number of streaming services, but we're not critically acclaimed. We don't have to do 20 reviews on the same 2-hour show. So I picked the one that I thought was getting the most attention. Flaming Hot got the most attention. And if you don't believe me, let me, because of course you don't, you son of a bitch. Let me tell you a little bit about this movie. Right. Flamin' Hot had its world premiere at South by Southwest on March 11, 2023. It was released on both Hulu and Disney Plus on June 9th. It was screened on the South Lawn of the White House on June 15th, 2023. President Joe Biden, let's go, Brandon, and director Eva.
Well, now you're going to get people in trouble.
Eva Longoria, a notable Democrat campaigner, delivered remarks at the event, promoting it as the first White House screening of a movie focused on Hispanic characters. Whether or not
that's not true, they screened Scarface, I'm pretty sure, back in the day.
On a mountain of cocaine. Listen, you white bread, non-minority liking person.
Don't accuse me of that. I will take being milquetoast. That's accurate. I don't need you slandering me.
This was, whether you realize it or not in your bubble, this was a big deal. So we're talking about it because it's a big deal.
Look, let me tell you the only thing about this that came across my feed.
Yeah.
Old creepy Joe trying to grope Eva Longoria.
Look, if we're being fair, who wouldn't want to, grope Eva Longoria if they had it after an opportunity?
I wouldn't. Mark, I can genuinely say I would not grope another person.
You Godsmack and Batista all stand alone, but the rest of us earthlings. Flamin' Hot received the Audience Award at the 2023 South by Southwest Film and TV Festival. Eva Longoria, once again, was one of the 10 directors.
We're well aware of your proclivities.
Directors honored during the Palm Springs International Film Festival for her contribution to the film. So, we're going to take a giant shit on it. The rest of the rest of Earth liked it and made a big deal about this thing.
If you say so. I've seen almost nothing.
Okay.
So
let's hit it.
All right, so Flamin' Hot follows, I forget the guy's name. You have the wiki up. Read the name, monkey.
Cheech and Chong? Cheech and or Chong? That's a racism. Jesse Garcia as
first
of many. Jesse Garcia as Richard Montanez.
Richard Montanez, okay. So we follow Richard Montanez, who is the inventor of the Flamin' Hot Cheeto flavor, and how he was a poor black child born on the south side. I couldn't help myself
I-
on that one.
I love it when you people steal my things and make them your things. It
Look,
makes me feel special.
I try to get one Steve Martin in at least once a show.
Still taking credit for it.
Fair enough. You don't get credit for Steve Martin. So we follow him as a young boy, son of immigrants to Southern California, and his life ain't great. His dad's a drunk and abuses him, and the other kids are racist because it's like the 50s, and that's. And we see him meet his wife in grade school, his future wife, and he doesn't even go to high school. He becomes a gangbanger. He barely avoids mass incarceration. He tries to find some kind of job, but he can't because, he doesn't even have a high school education. He doesn't know how to dress himself properly for these kinds of things. I'm watching this movie and he's walking around handing out resumes, still dressed like
Conan from, the Latino World Order era. I mean, look, I knew we were in trouble when he showed up on screen. He was going, "Yo, we bowdy," and somebody yelled off screen, "And rowdy, orale!"
Yeah.
He walked up with the Cheetos. He walked up with the Cheetos factory, going, "Viva la raza!" Somebody was like, "Do you lie, cheat, and steal?" He was like, "No, that's another guy. I can do this all day."
I know you can, but tell you what. Let me ask you a different question.
Yes.
Without looking it up, what country is Conan from? That can be your answer if you like.
I was under the impression Conan was from Mexico, but the way you're talking, it doesn't sound that way.
He's not. He's Cuban.
He's okay. That's unfortunate. what he did to himself and what they did to him, given that. But go on.
Anyway, he's trying to find work to support his family. He's got a wife. He's got a couple of kids, and it's a struggle. And he gets a former gangbanger to help put in a good word for him working at the Frito-Lay factory. He gets a job. He's a janitor. But he's an ambitious, industrious go-getter.
Who don't need no man.
No, that's not what I said.
And I said, who don't need no man.
I know what you said, and that's not what I said, and that's not even what I implied. And while working at the factory, he meets a few other people, including Clarence, who is the sort of chief engineer. And he wants to move up in the world. He doesn't just want to be a janitor, but, he's a janitor for like 8 years. And things happen in the world during that time period, and the economy takes a downturn in some respects. And people stop caring about Pepsi products because Tony Shalhoub is now in charge of PepsiCo. And you can't trust Tony Shalhoub. You just can't do it.
Not since his days as the monk.
But they're worried about the factory closing because this was a thing people were concerned about. And he sees one of those like corporate canned videos where the CEO's like, just rah, go get them. And he's inspired by this. He goes, you know what we really need? We need something to appeal to the Latin demographic. And we can do this because we can find a flavor profile that will appeal to them. Because this is all very bland food that we're producing here. Who eats Cool Ranch Doritos anyway? A white woman walks up and buys a bag. Like, that's who. The single largest financial consumer block in the country. But he and his family are like, okay, we're gonna try this. We're gonna try to make something that will appeal to us. And so they get a bunch of chilies. They try to figure it out. He's fighting with his dad because his dad's like, I can get you a better job, something that's actually full time. And he's like, no, I hate you because you were an abusive jackwagon. And his father's like, but I've found Jesus and he saved me. And the kid's like, I don't care. Still haven't apologized for being a jackass. You just claim that you've been saved. Yeah, fair enough. So eventually, through trial and error and the burning of their youngest child's mouth repeatedly.
He was a test subject.
I'm aware. They eventually find the they find the right blend, they find the right stuff, they find the right way to adhere it to the Cheeto, and he calls the CEO of PepsiCo because no one else will listen to him. And goes, I got something for you. Give it a try, please. And the guy goes, yeah, you said you liked my movie. I'm a narcissist, like most CEOs, and a little sociopathic. Sure. So he sends him a copy of the product, and he tries it, and he likes it. So he heads down, and he gets a presentation that initially starts badly, but once the old Mexicano charisma comes out, he puts on the luchador mask and apologizes for his son.
I'm trying to remember what the hell they called Latino heat. Latino heat.
We're lucky they didn't call it Latino heat Cheetos.
Get your special lot cheat and steel bag of flaming hot Cheetos, Latino heat Cheetos.
Nothing's hotter.
In another universe.
Nothing's hotter. Orale. I wonder what Eddie Guerrero's subheading would have been if he couldn't do that because it was copyrighted.
Flamin' hot Eddie Guerrero.
There we go. Just swap those. Flamin' heat.
Flamin' heat. We lie. We cheat. We still flamin' heat. And then walks Chavo on Pepe.
Chavo. Anyway.
By the way, the group of people who aren't wrestling fans listening to our show are like, what racisms exactly are they doing? I don't get it.
These are very specific references to very specific people. We are not broadly categorizing yet. We will soon.
However, those people at that time.
So Tony Shalhoub likes it, and he says, "Okay, make a bunch of them, and we'll see how they sell." And they don't sell because they don't spend any money marketing them. So. And now at the lowest point for our hero, he decides, you know what? We're going to buy them, and we're going to hand them out, and I got all these gangbanger buddies, and we can get them to sling these things like crack, Mark. Instead of crack, it will be Flamin' Hot Cheetos, and please don't snort them. So they pass them out, and it starts to become a hit, becomes a big hit. Tony Shalhoub has to be annoyed with his VP of marketing, and he calls him up and says, we need a lot of these. A lot. So, yeah, your factory is saved. You saved the factory, buddy. And he goes, that's a good thing. I'm still struggling to pay my bills, but I saved the factory. And then Tony Shalhoub calls him again and says, so, how about you, actually get a real job with me for real money? And you become the vice president of, what the heck was his official title?
Ethnic marketing or some shit.
That's probably what it actually was, but they changed it for this movie to diversity marketing or something like that. Because it just wouldn't be the same if you put head Chino in charge on the door. But he gets this giant payday. He becomes very important, and we close with a bunch of the title cards. Yay. I mean, his wife stayed with him. One of the only good things I'm going to say about this movie, by the way, is their relationship. They started doing Flamin' Hot everything. There's Flamin' Hot Mountain Dew. It became $1 billion sub-brand of PepsiCo.
Yep.
And aren't we all just happy? Because you're not just a dishwasher or a busboy or a janitor, Mark. You, too, can fall ass backwards into a 6-figure job.
Look, I think credit where credit's due. And
it's a genuine, just as a brief aside, before we get silly, the genuine story of this man, truly remarkable. 1,000,000%. Well, genuinely amazing story.
It is a quintessential conservative American dream story. That people
hang on. Let me push back just briefly. There's nothing conservative about the American dream.
you're gonna get. I know why you're saying that. I know why you're doing it, and you're gonna go way far away from the point I was trying to make.
Well, I think, look, there is. I'm not saying there isn't a conservative version of the American dream or a liberal version of the American dream. What we have here is very kind of apolitical realization of that.
Let me do this for the audience.
That's my only point there. Because look, man, I'm gonna have to yell at the political people later, so I figured I'd get it rolling early a little bit.
When I say conservative, there's and look, this argument can be torn to pieces, but for the sake of conversation, I'm going to make this one point and we're going to move on.
All right.
When we say the conservative American dream, there is the no government assistance, and you, with your own work and dumb luck, you can become rich and powerful. And then there's the progressive idea of no, the government's role should be to help people. To that whether or not you can make it on your own is immaterial. The government should be there to create a safety net for people, which doesn't make nearly as good a story. So, the idea of
not only is it not nearly as good a story, I don't think it's true, ever.
Well, either way, my point is when it's like, why does he keep throwing the word conservative out there? Because from a completely idealized version of conservatism is the government is not involved in creating safety nets or in the personal welfare of others. They are there to create an arena for which to pursue your dreams should you have the wherewithal to do so. And that is from where Flamin' Hot comes from. It is the idea of, with no help from anyone, government-wise, you have all the help from your family you want, but with or from the local drug dealer, but with no help from the government. This guy came from the poorest of poor in poverty to the richest of rich in big business. And he did so because of hard work, dumb luck, and a creative mind. That is quintessentially a philosophical conservative idea. That is from where this film comes from. That being said,
the irony of Eva Longoria doing that, by the way, is
really
pretty huge.
Yeah, no shit. My problem with this movie is exactly that, though. This is about as paint by numbers and as standard a biopic about a guy who comes from nothing and strikes it rich with a big idea as you're going to get. If it wasn't for the fact that we were talking about poor Hispanics in Los Angeles, I'm not entirely sure this would be that much different from any number of films of this ilk. Compare that to, say, The Founder with Michael Keaton,
yep,
which had a perspective. It, yes, it deals with the success and failure of an idea, but there's more to it than that. This was almost a self-congratulatory, aren't Hispanics wonderful kind of biopic, which is fine. I'm not faulting Eva Longoria for making that. There are people who want to see Hispanics cheerled. They're only 1/3 of the Earth's population. There are people who feel like not enough. We've been joking about racial Hispanic Latino stereotypes in pro wrestling, in case anyone didn't get that, because we're wrestling fans and that's funny. But there are people, and I think it's a legitimate argument, that would say, why is it, and it's been said about blacks and almost any other ethnic group or minority group, why is it when we have a public conversation about any number of these groups, it's always the worst elements of them? Why not celebrate the good, the vast, creative, wonderful cultural parts of a minority group? Why are we always looking at the worst parts of it? And so I applaud Eva Longoria for doing that. It just was done with zero style. This is,
this is devoid of flair. This is devoid of
that's what I was gonna say.
This is devoid of everything.
This is the graham cracker of ethnic fucking biopics.
No. This is the saltine. It's very white. Yeah,
this is a Ritz cracker. Which is funny and ironic that it's a Ritz cracker of a Latino movie. Anyway, see, I just don't do that for sex stuff. I also do it for racist stuff.
You do that is your default for so many things.
It really is. Oh, now I got the studio audience doing
You just fill awkward silences with it, I imagine.
I really do. I do it during church it's just like, dearly beloved, the fuck, congregation, open your prayer guides, the fuck, anyway, that's kind of like my biggest criticism of this is that we rely a little too much on the quirks and eccentricities of our ethnic group and not enough on film style.
Yeah.
Which I think for the average person is fine, but for you and I who tend to deconstruct things, as we said last week during my mental breakdown about Indiana Jones, if you're
not a good movie,
if you're no shit, if you're deconstructing a film and you're looking for what are the various elements, the pillars, the craft, if you will, of what makes this film work or not work, you're going to find things that are not right with it. If you're just kind of watching it casually, the fact that it is utterly inoffensive and rather white bread, as we might say colloquially, is probably not even going to register. It's also not going to stand out or be memorable in about 6 weeks.
Less.
That said, I thought the movie moved at a good pace.
I'm gonna disagree with you there.
I mean, it's just over an hour and a half.
Hang on. Here's my thing about that.
Yeah.
This was an hour like television special that got stretched to that got 30 minutes stretched. You could cut from this.
I'm not going to argue with you there. I'm wondering how much of your feeling that it dragged was your disinterest in the subject matter.
Look, at this point, I'm not even going to say it's my disinterest in the subject matter. I'm going to say it's the bland filmmaking. Like, there's nothing here to carry you.
Okay.
Like, I have been brought into other movies based on that deal with subject matter that I don't care much about. Because the movie's good, I'm there for it.
Let me throw this at you. As much as we destroyed that movie, in just terms of keeping my interest because of aesthetic and style, Blonde was better than this.
I see where you're coming from.
Right.
And
that was almost like, I want to see what happens next, even though I've been at this movie for 8 hours. This is going on forever.
It's still not stopping. It's not stopping.
It is caught up.
And now comes the song and dance number that moves back and forth between color and black and white for no reason.
And yeah, it's fun. It's caught up to the Irishman.
And the ghost of her aborted children are gonna just.
By the way, in a few months when we do Killers of the Flower Moon, we might have to just not do a review and have to do like an alternative commentary, because not only are we gonna have to sit through all 12 hours of Killers of the Flower Moon, but then we're gonna have to sit and talk about it. We might need to talk about it as the movie is happening.
We might hit the singularity there.
we might.
Time might literally go backwards for us. It'll be interesting.
The ghost of Martin Scorsese, who isn't dead, will appear and just yell, "This is cinema," over and over and over again. Anyway, looking forward to it. Back to Flamin' Hot. I don't have a whole lot else to say, and that's why we do 2 of these, because a lot of these streaming movies, there's not a lot for us to really bite into. I'm not a big fan of I can tell you this. I am not a huge fan of the snack itself. Like, first of all, I don't like Cheetos to begin with. I think they're gross. And
a couple of my brothers are big into the Flamin' Hot Cheetos. They really enjoy them.
I accept the fact that I'm in your position now, and most of Earth disagrees with me, as is said by this movie. I think in general Cheetos are gross, and when my kids buy them, I like them a little less.
I'm not a big Cheetos guy personally,
right.
So like none of that's very interesting to me.
Yeah.
Best thing about this movie is the relationship between the husband and wife.
Yeah, I like the wife character a lot. It's nice to see a wife that doesn't make the Adrian scale.
Yeah, look, when she and her husband are at odds, they're at odds, but they're never. It never gets shrill. It never gets.
Yeah, she's not a nag. She's not a shrew.
And look, man, she takes his side ultimately.
Right.
Like there's one time when they're talking with his father, and he's like, "Your wife's lost faith in you," and she kind of gets in his face, like, "I never said that.
Right.
You don't get to speak for me. I have not lost faith in my husband.
Right.
You jerk."
Yeah, I think she's a pretty actress. I think she gives a solid performance. I think the way her character is developed in the movie is, you know, we talk a lot about how men are mistreated in media right now. We are a very pro-man podcast, mostly because we are men, but also because we are bright men and we don't see the value in demeaning anyone. Says the guy making racist jokes at the beginning of this podcast.
Oh, hey, look. To be fair, the guy we were kind of joking about is dead, so you know. Does that change the calculus at all a little bit?
I don't know. Ask Randy Orton. Listen. No, I truly believe in my heart of hearts that, you know, me and you don't believe that devaluing and demeaning people is appropriate, and we are especially sensitive to it being done by men. One, because it gets done in large volume. You know, it's everywhere you look. But also because we are in fact men, and we are like, hey, why do we know good men in real life? Why are we looked upon so poorly in mainstream media? So that being said, when there's a good woman on screen, because by the same token, we are always criticizing the way women are portrayed, but not be because we dislike women, but more because the version of the idealized woman that Kathleen Kennedy is so fond of, the Kathleen Kennedy insert, isn't how women act. That's not real women. That is a fantasy if I've ever seen one. It is a modern myth, and we call it out. So it might seem at first blush when we do these podcasts and people listen to them like, oh, they hate women and love men. But no,
I can't speak for Mark's personal life.
Some might say I'm flexible, but no, in reality,
not me.
like,
I would not say that about you.
What I'm saying is, like, when we see a good woman on film, we need to call it out and say, this is how you write women. This is how you write a woman. This was somebody I could get behind, and I could support, and I could say, this is a character that I believe in, that I want to see succeed. I'm on her side.
Yeah. So that deserves credit. Other than that, this is just... It's just not an interesting movie. It's not a very good movie. It drags. There's giant sections of this that are just straight up pandering.
And you wanted to talk about the racial pandering, so let's hit that before we go.
There's a lot of, especially like the first 5 to 10 minutes of this, that is just throwing every bit of like Spanglish lingo at you, or inserting Spanish language into this that it possibly can. It's trying way too hard in that respect. And I mean, look, it annoyed me as a film trope. Like, okay, I get it. Please stop. This is annoying.
Right.
It didn't bother me on a personal level, but apparently there are people that it did.
Really? Explain.
Not a large contingent, but, you know, I've seen a few things that are people like, congratulations, you made us all sound like...
Great, we're all cholos. Terrific.
Yeah. Sure. And...
What does it say about the writing of an ethnic movie when everyone's doing Vince McMahon's impression of Eddie Guerrero? Or the Latino World Order.
Which came back recently.
Yeah, I know. I saw. Or like when Conan, I think Conan did the Cholo transition when he went into the Wolfpack, right? Or was it like slightly before?
It was right around then, and then he kept doing it when he was in early days TNA.
Yeah, well, he's been doing it ever since. But like when I first started watching WCW, he was doing like Chicano Warrior, Conan. Because I remember,
when he got the bandana and the wife beater, and occasionally he's got the shirt with just like the top button done up, and yeah. To the younger audience, man, you couldn't show you could not show the rising generation, circa 1997 WCW.
No, you could also not show them WWE. Hey, let's all give Mae Young a great big hand. Wrestling is dumb.
It really is.
With that said, the critical review?
Sure. There's nothing else to say about this.
Ladies and gentlemen, the much ballyhooed
Yes.
critical review.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
One.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right. Well, it's got a 67, which makes it fresh, though barely. A 67% audio critical score and a 90% audience score of all Latinos.
Sure.
Let's see. I'm gonna start making this a regular thing that we do.
Yeah,
now.
yeah, I'm down. I'm down.
All right, so that's all critics. Top critics. Yup.
There's usually about that 5 or so, that 5 to 10% swing. That's not
Right.
that's not unfair.
I can't change the audience score, it looks like.
Then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can... No, because this is a movie they want to be received well. They're not. They don't care.
Yeah, like didn't it let us on the other one? It like
You can't like we did
Yeah.
this with Little Mermaid was kind of the first one that we were like.
yeah. All right, well, let's get to the chat GPT says Flamin' Hot may have a little more than its share of empty calories.
That's
This
one way to put it.
But this fun feel-good story is still a decent cinematic snack.
No, it's not.
First of all, bad chat GPT. Bad. No.
Like turn down the bad food-related puns by 20%.
And the audience says, Orale! No, the audience says, Flamin',
Mi gente!
we're either going to get all like Latino comments going, you guys are fucking hilarious and fuck you. Or
I hope seriously, I hope you all understand that this is we do this about ourselves all the time.
yeah, this is not new. Audience says Flamin' Hot is an inspirational and funny underdog story that should resonate with anyone who's ever had a dream. I did not laugh a lot. I enjoyed this, but I didn't laugh a lot. I don't know where
I didn't laugh, and this did not speak to my dreams.
All right. Sean P. Means of the Movie Critic. Whether or not the story behind Flamin' Hot is entirely true, it's entertaining and charming, which is a tasty combination.
You are desperately trying to make friends.
Yeah.
How many of these are written by people whose most recent book they've read is How to Win Friends and Influence People?
Catherine Reckless of the Christian Century. The suspense. It's the suspense that gets me. The suspense and drama of the commodity biopic work without the need for either accuracy or mystery.
The fact that a bunch of these people are like, well, accuracy. Throw it away.
Here comes the bride,
Please don't.
all dressed in white.
First of all, she wore red.
Carla Renata, the curvy film critic.
Doesn't quite work the way you want it to.
You don't quite work the way I want you to.
I'm very well aware of that.
The future ex-Mrs. Winfree. Very inspiring tale with wonderful performances from Jesse Garcia and Andy Gonzalez. Well, of course.
Wonderful,
Carla.
Mark. Wonderful performances.
Stunning and brave, Carla. Always stunning and brave.
Indeed.
Alex Meady of Joe Blow's movie Network. Sure.
All right.
I wish Flamin' Hot had opted to pursue the obstacles as more than bumps on the way to Richard's success. The story works better than I had thought it could have, but it needed a little more intensity.
Well, we talked a little about essentially that point. Like, there's nothing here to keep you interested in this movie.
Yeah. I know I dozed off at one point, and my girlfriend had to kind of like, "Hey, here's what you missed," but I didn't think I missed anything.
Liberal use of the fast forward key.
Yeah. John Sturba of Decider. Ooh, the Decider. As goes the protagonist, so goes the movie. Flamin' Hot works a little too hard to be an ebullient crowd pleaser, but it'll win you over with its relentless upbeat energy.
No, it won't.
I didn't think it had relentless upbeat energy.
It really didn't. I mean, look, if you want to compare this to something truly depressing, then maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And It speaks to the lack of directorial experience. That again, there's no flair, there's no vision, there's no like you could have made this more an upbeat kind of comedy thing, but it isn't. It's just not because it's not objectively depressing. Everyone thinks it's upbeat and happy all the time.
I respect your religious convictions. I truly do.
Okay,
And so I say
that's a
this,
weird way to start a sentence.
let me get there. And so I say this not with a vicious heart trying to tempt you, but rather with a wish that we could enjoy an activity together. Because what I really would like to do is take a drink every time someone does a food pun in one of these stupid reviews written by children.
Yeah, there's a lot of those.
Like so. Travis Hobson of Punch Drunk Critics.
Well, punched at least.
Flamin' Hot is an easily snackable treat, although not a totally fulfilling one. Sir, may you be kicked in the uterus by a donkey.
I hope I shouldn't wish ill on my fellow man. I really shouldn't. But
Wait, since when?
I've been trying real hard the last
You
year.
know, you haven't wished death on a celebrity in a real long time, and I am proud of you for that. You are an evolved human being since 2015. But Travis Hobson definitely needs to go on a date with a donkey.
Should this gentleman break one of those really annoying bones? There's a few of them that you can't actually splint and you just kind of have to suck it up and live with until it heals. I wouldn't shed a tear for him.
And while we're in the business of throwing people down deep, dark pits, Matt Singer of Screen Crush, top critic, he gets paid for this. Okay, best of the best. A very familiar recipe.
I appreciate you letting your 5-year-old write your reviews. That's a nice thing you did for them. But please don't.
Some might ask, why do you guys do this bit? Because
it's funny and these people suck.
Because some of this shit needs to be called out.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to have a long yell about this later when we talk about the money for the last weekend, but I'll save it for then.
Let's see. We'll do maybe one or two more of these and call it a night for this particular one. Audrey Schroeder of the Daily Dot. Longoria's debut feature film makes for a compelling underdog story.
What's compelling about this?
All right, Robert, take a drink. Christy Puchko of Mashable, top critic. Flamin' Hot is fleeting fun that may well leave you hungry for something more substantial. Hey, Robert, did you know this
is a movie based around a food product?
This was a movie based on food? Did you know that? Did you?
I shudder to think what these people were saying about the menu.
The menu left few choices, and so I ordered the soup. Ugh. Did you know that the soup is witchcraft?
I saw that.
She no longer lives here, but it made me think of the Kelsey. Because, the Kelsey was witchy. And like soup. What?
You are a long-suffering man.
A little traumatized. Little PTSD there. Hey, friend.
Yes.
Would you want to talk about Extraction 2 now?
Sure, why not? So, before we get into Extraction 2, let me just very briefly go over Extraction 1. Not the plot necessarily, but...
Well, hang on. Actually, before you do that...
All right.
Extraction 2 is a 2023 American action thriller film. We all have our jobs. Directed by Sam Hargrave and written by Joe Russo, based on the graphic novel Ciudad by Ande Parks, Joe Russo, Anthony Russo, Fernando León González, and Eric Skillman. It is the sequel to the 2020 film Extraction with Chris Hemsworth, Farahani, and Adam Bessa, who reprised their roles with Olga.
Please try to pronounce that again.
Not even $1 million, not with $1 million at stake. With Olga Kurylenko, Daniel Bernhardt, Tinatin, Dalakishvili, and Idris Elba. utterly wasted in this movie, by the way. Joining the cast.
I'm sure he'll be fine for the third one.
His one scene was fine, but you don't bring in Idris Elba for one scene.
No, you bring him in for 2 scenes to set up your third movie.
It is about a mercenary, Tyler Rake, who is Hemsworth, who was initially hired to rescue the wife of an abusive crime lord and her children from the Georgian prison, but who find that he must also protect the family from the crime syndicate after the extraction. This was released on Netflix June 16th, 2023, and received positive reviews by critics. And for those of you who follow the Critical Drinker, you like this one, because the Critical Drinker does like things. Let's leave that poor man alone. He is beset by you people who can see Russia from your house.
Dude, you and I deal with this on occasion, for the record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, our audience is 1/10 the size of his if we're lucky.
Yeah, that's giving us a lot of credit.
100th.
Yeah. Then
move the decimal point 2 places.
There you go.
And we get crap like this. Like, boy, you guys don't like anything, do you?
Poor Amber Teasley will never come on this show again because we didn't like the Harry Potter movie.
And all I can do is say, no, we like things. It's just frequently not the stuff we review.
Very true.
Like, I had to have this discussion with somebody the other day. Like, yeah, there's stuff I like. I like movies.
Look,
I do.
We didn't. Maybe we would have if I were going 4 days a week like I used to. But I watched How to Blow Up a Pipeline. It wasn't perfect, but there was things about it I liked. I liked Blackberry. I'm probably gonna go see Dumb Money, and I'll probably end up liking that when it comes out. I watched tons of like independent movies. I watched tons of like smaller budget, indie theater movies, but we don't always get a chance to talk about them. I mean, it wasn't your thing, but Zola was put up by A24 about the stripper on a road trip. That was my favorite movie of that year.
I can't imagine why.
I know. I'm so not known for my hypersexuality and dick jokes and whatnot, and my professed love of strippers. But that's the thing. Like that's not shit we talk about. Like the whole premise, and we've talked about this a zillion times. The whole premise of Damn You Hollywood was to do stuff at the center of the cultural conversation. Big budget action, the big budget blockbusters, and sort of examine the world around it. It's expanded beyond that at this point, but not by that much. Not enough.
We don't do a lot of. It's not to say we do none, but we don't do a lot of niche stuff.
Right. So it's not our fault that most of the major
are good.
Yeah, that most of the major blockbusters suck dick now. Speaking of suck dick, Extraction 2.
It's not an appropriate transition. So let me just very briefly. I saw the original Extraction kind of on recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
Someone who I know likened it to a poor man's version of The Night Comes for Us, which I very much enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, if you haven't seen that one, there's a handful of movies that came out of Indonesia, that like Southeast Asian action flicks.
Mm-hmm.
The Raid would be in that same category. A few other things. And I enjoy the heck out of them. Love what they do. Love the philosophy. Love the fight choreography. Like, there's a lot of really good stuff there. So even a poor man's version of The Night Comes for Us is something I would be interested in. So I watched the original, enjoyed it. I don't think it's unfair to say that's what it is. Mm-hmm. It lacks a little of the edge of that movie. And again, the setup is different. It's more about like the style that it's trying to evoke. But Hemsworth is a believable action star.
What was the long take World War I movie that you and Andrew reviewed?
1916.
Was it 16? I can't
1916 and 1917, one of those.
Yeah, I feel like it was 1917. I'll look it up real quick. But you're about to talk about it, but that's what this reminded me of. It wasn't quite the whole gimmick with, let's go with 1917 until I know for sure. The whole gimmick with 1917 was the whole movie was one take, or at least edited to look like it was one take. These are a series of extended action sequences that look like they're one take, as opposed to the whole goddamn movie. But that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, there's some of that in there. So I enjoyed the first one. I would have been fine if they left it as is with dead Chris Hemsworth.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's American movie making, so of course he's not dead.
It was a hit on Netflix, so, look out for Don't Look Up 2.
Let's not.
Search for more money.
I'll respect the artistic integrity of Don't Look Up for at least the following bit. They literally blew up the Earth, so there is no sequel.
Sure. But yeah, even
And-
on a streaming service, if enough people watch something
Yeah.
and they feel like they can justify the watches versus subscriptions, it gets a sequel.
Yeah, and so if you haven't seen the original Extraction, it's worth your time. It's a good movie, especially for action stuff. Chris Hemsworth is he's a very believable action star. He
Mhm.
handles weaponry capably. He handles fighting capably.
He's got a nice stoicism about him that contrasts with the way he's portrayed Thor in the last two movies, which I really
Oh my god! I very briefly about this movie. There's a handful of people who finally got out of the MCU, and we're like, "Oh, thank God, I can be an actor again."
yeah.
Um,
Chris Evans, top of that list.
Sort of.
Well, no, Chris Evans is stretching as an actor. He's doing different things. He's allowing himself to be smarmy after being the almost angelic, walks with Jesus, some language Captain America.
Yeah, and you've got Robert Downey Jr., who's gone back into more serious acting roles lately.
Right.
I mean, he's going to be in Oppenheimer coming up, so there's...
I mean, even like Scarlett Johansson was like, listen, I know I'm sexy Black Widow, but I'm gonna do movies that may not hit, but will at least stretch my abilities as an actress.
Well, and there's a couple of them that you could tell it became very clear what they wanted out of the MCU and what they didn't get out of it.
Yeah.
Because you have both Chris Pratt and now Chris Hemsworth going, I really want to do action.
Right.
So give me a serious action role.
We were really complimentary towards Chris Pratt in the Tomorrow War.
Yeah, for as many problems as that movie has, he's not one of them.
No. And that's the thing, is I think Chris Pratt was one of those actors that got pigeonholed because of his part in whatever stupid, goofy sitcom he did.
Parks and Rec.
Right. But then he bridges the gap with Star-Lord. But even as Star-Lord, he had some chops, as a dramatic actor. But you can only be dramatic so much in these, cartoon children's coloring book movies that has become the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And so he got to transition into something still light, but more action-oriented, more serious than he had been doing with the Tomorrow War. And oh my God, it turns out Chris Pratt's a good actor.
Well, and if you want something else he's done that's, again, heavy on the action and not heavy on laughs, he's the lead in The Terminal List, which is an Amazon series.
Okay.
That's also pretty good. I'm not jumping up and down over it, but I genuinely enjoyed it. So he's because he plays, it's one of those like pretty stereotypical military thrillers. Like, I was a Navy SEAL and my whole team got dead, and now I'm uncovering the truth about what happened. And there's a few like gimmicks to it that make it more interesting, but he's doing just kind of, I'm here to kick ass.
Yeah.
And do some good acting along the way because my family's dead. So, there's that angle, of course. And he's pretty good at it. And now you got Hemsworth going, okay, you turned me into a clown.
Right.
I'm
the laughing stock of men's Hollywood.
I'd rather not be a clown anymore, if that's okay. Or at least remind people that I don't have to be a clown.
I want to
So he picks up large weaponry and beats the crap out. Like, he kills half of India.
I was going to say, nerds like to say who would win in a fight, Superman or Iron Man. I don't know. Whatever nerds talk about. Who would win in a fight? Superman or Batman? Who would win in a fight? Spider-Man or Batman? That sort of thing. Honestly, this version of Chris Hemsworth in Extraction 2 might beat the fuck out of Thor. And Thor's a god. At least the Thor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I want to get to it, and I want to, propriety is a thing, so I want to make sure we do this as structurally as we normally would do it. But I'm not kidding when I tell you I watched him in one of these, in that first, in the actual Georgian prison break.
Yeah.
That guy would give Thor a beating.
I'm not arguing with you.
All right. Take it away.
So Extraction 2 originally picks up where Extraction 1 leaves off, with Chris Hemsworth taking a header off of a bridge, having been shot in the neck into a disgusting river.
Well, it's India. Most of their atmosphere and water is made of poop.
I was hoping we could leave the racist stuff with the jokey movie. But
Nope.
okay, here we are.
Welcome to Damn You, everyone.
So he is pulled from the river by some of his support team, and he is taken to a hospital where he gets the best treatment and he can recover, and he laments that he was brought back at all. You should have let me die.
Back in time with Indiana Jones.
At least it makes sense for his character. I mean, he's much as they do have to kind of montage their way through his recovery, the fact that they give it that level of seriousness is appreciated.
Look, nobody wanted to watch him do physical therapy.
I'm aware.
We are. Everyone watching Extraction 2 was like, get to the fucking Extraction already. And let me tell you, there was no foreplay with this movie. We went straight to the fucking.
Once we got there, yes. So but he is a physical wreck. His shoulder's messed up. His knees battered. They give the physical weight of what he went through in that first movie its appropriate weight. So he's got to deal with it. And his team is like, well, you made a bunch of money, so we're going to, now that, you got a busted leg, we're going to take you out back and shoot you. Oh, sorry, we don't do that. We're going to take you to a farm in Austria.
Right.
And
Idris Elba takes a private plane from Baltimore to visit him.
I would just for once like to talk about Idris Elba without you bringing up The Wire. It's never going to happen, but I'd like that very much.
You could wish for a 10-foot schlong and wings, and that's not going to happen either.
I feel like that has a better chance of happening
than me not bringing up The Wire.
I feel like physical augmentation of my body is more likely than you.
That is very factual.
So he goes to he starts retirement, and he's bored out of his mind, but he's safe, and he's and then Idris Elba shows up and is like, well,
right. That cabin in Switzerland, I kept waiting for fucking Walter.
Was it Switzerland? I forget what country it was.
Whatever it was, but I thought you heard
Germany, maybe, whatever.
In Europe. But I kept waiting for like Walter from Breaking Bad to show up. What are you doing here, Walter White? A very brief cameo. Because it was like the same cabin in the woods.
Well, he was in New Hampshire, and this was in Europe.
New Hampshire, Switzerland. What's the difference?
Quite a bit. Quite a bit. Anyway, Idris Elba shows up and offers him one last job. Well, not really one last job, but he offers him a job. And he looks at it and goes, oh, this is used to be my sister-in-law before I got divorced. And he's then reminded of the tragedy of his life that led him to this point. And he montages his way through some more physical recovery, and he says, I'll do it. And he gets his team back together, and they okay, we got to break into this Georgian prison. And we're going to get the woman and her 2 kids, and we're going to get out. And it's all going to be nice and easy, nice and smooth.
I didn't do it.
Because nothing bad's going to happen here. And then, of course, something bad happens. So they infiltrate the prison. They go to get the people, and then all hell breaks loose. The Georgian gangster that is this woman's husband is killed in the bowels of the prison. There's a riot going on. They eventually get out. And they try to get free. But the teenage kid is upset because his dad's dead, and he's all confuzzled about what he wants to be and who he is in the world, like most stupid teenagers. And now my dad's dead, and you killed him, and I just wanted to be a Georgian gangster like my dad and my uncle, because my uncle's awesome. And his uncle, who we get the backstory, he runs this particular Georgian warlord clan, and he kind of owns the entire country. So he murders the prime minister, the governor, or something or other. And he launches a giant attack, so we get a big chase through a train. There's a helicopter. It's awesome. And they eventually wind up in No, that's when they go to Austria. Because that's where they go to Austria at the end. Well, near the end. But they eventually escape because Chris Hemsworth is awesome. And they're all recovering, and the kid calls his uncle and says, "I'm over here, please come get me." And then he has a conversation with Hemsworth, who's like, "Yeah, you don't really want to be that guy. Your dad was kind of a jackass. And you really need to think more about who you want to be in life." And he shares the pain of having to go on deployment, leave his dying son with his wife. And his son died of cancer, and his wife left him because, well, that seems reasonable.
And then they shot his dog, and then the dam broke.
Well, they left his dog alone. This isn't John Wick. But they show up, and we get another big shootout sequence. And the dumbass teenager goes with his gangster uncle while everyone else escapes. And in the course of this, one of his partners is killed. And Hemsworth decides, I have to go. He goes back to his cabin. He meets with his ex-wife. They talk a little bit. They get some closure, the both of them. Mark has surrendered his not drinking vow.
It is the last bit of liquid in my house.
That's very sad.
I have to go grocery shopping.
We get a final showdown. The bad guy dies. The good guy gets arrested because he just blew up a giant chunk of Austria. They tend to look not favorably on that sort of behavior. But the kid gets to be back with his mother and starts kind of figuring out who he is and who he wants to be. Hemsworth has to recover physically because, once again, he gets the crap beat out of him. He winds up in jail, where Idris Elba gets him out and says, "How about you come work for us? One more job."
He says, "John Rambo, we're going to send you back to Vietnam. This time we get to win."
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And Hemsworth says, "Fine, if you bring my friend with me, get her out of prison too." And he goes, "Yeah, oh yeah, I already did that. Like, that was easy." And we'll see you in Extraction 3.
Search for more bullets. All right.
I really hope they subtitle it that.
So
low on ammo.
I love this movie, but the trick to making a good gimmick movie is that gimmick is the most important thing, and it has to work on all levels. If your gimmick, you can make a movie that is entirely a balance on one pillar, and that one pillar is your gimmick. But that gimmick has to be solid the whole way through. It really needs to be perfect, because then the rest of it, it's like the trunk of a Christmas tree. You can throw up a bunch of, balls and bells and doodads and hickory dinks, but you have nothing if the trunk of your Christmas tree isn't solid. And I'll tell you, these Extraction movies, they know the movie that they're making.
Yep.
There are two long, I think they're about 20 minutes apiece, two long, extended, one shot looking fight scenes.
Hang on. The prison extraction is presented as one take from the time he gets out of the car until they get back into it. There's some setup stuff that's different.
Right.
The other one, like the building assault, is not. I don't even think the train assault and the building assault are both presented more normally. Definitely
the prison scene then. But there's still just two long extended fight scenes, and then some mini ones in between. But the prison one, that is the star on the Christmas tree. That is the reason you can almost kind of just watch that and be satisfied. It's almost like it almost works as like a short film, because the
really does.
Because the rest of it is fine and it's a good solid movie. You and I, when we reviewed Plane, lamented the loss of the solid, encapsulated, strict action movie.
This kind of stuff.
Right. The Drinker, and this is how you properly credit a YouTube video. I'm going to keep saying it till you do it right. The Critical Drinker said on his review of Extraction, again, he liked it, that this was the kind of movie they made in the 80s when you and I were growing up. The Commandos, the Rambos, the Chuck Norris Vietnam movies. One guy, missing in action. One guy, a machine gun, lots of foreign bad guys, and a body count higher than your average horror movie. We loved these movies growing up as a kid.
We did.
because these were
we still love those
We do.
movies.
we celebrated the rise of the Superman, and everyone goes, "Oh, the comic book guy? No, fuck that guy."
Hey,
Arnold Schwarzenegger, covered in camo, giant machine gun, and Alyssa Milano as his daughter. That was Superman. That got, Sylvester Stallone, tank top. I mean, Sean and I talked about this on Long Road to Ruin. Like, the sexiest sex scene I've ever seen in an action movie is Rambo getting dressed. I'm right. That is legit right there.
I do not know that you're right, but I understand your point.
So, one man with a machine gun against an army of foreign invaders. We love this shit, and we lost it a long time ago because there was this tacit belief that we shouldn't make movies like that anymore. And then people stopped going to the movies, and somebody thought maybe we should make things that people like. Oh, as it turns out, people like stuff in the year of our Lord 2023 that they liked in the year of our Lord 1983. Who'd have thunk it? Extraction, other than the special effects, and I say special effects not in the Phantom Menace act against a green screen way, but more of, and again, I'm going to credit the Critical Drinker and use his language, special effects to accentuate the authentically acted action sequence, not in place of it.
Yeah.
So
something that is sorely missing from most movie making these days.
I made my kids watch the last 3 Mission Impossible movies: Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Free Fall. And Fallout. And I said, and my son goes, "What is the attraction to these movies? What makes the Mission Impossible? What makes?" He said, "Father." He calls me father. He said, "Father, what makes these Mission Impossible movies so wonderful?" And I said, "Well, they intensify your personality." And he said, "Yes, but what if you're an asshole?" No, he said, "What is the appeal?" Like 2 people got that joke. 2.
One of them, if my family's watching, every one of them got it because we love that special.
He said, "Father, what is the appeal of these movies versus any other action movie you've shown me against my will?" And I said, "The authentic action sequence, non-reliant on stuntmen or CGI." Like,
it's Tom Cruise literally hanging off the edge of a plane as it takes off.
Well, what's funny, and I probably should have waited until next Monday to talk about this, but I'm going to bring it up now, maybe just repeat myself later. My son surmised that Tom Cruise has been cloned 100 times, and they actually kill him on set, and they just bring in a new clone for each stunt.
That's not how that works.
But yeah, like he's like that motherfucker's really hanging off a plane. He's doing those stunts. It's incredible. And
he's in the next one, he's gonna drive a motorcycle off a ramp to look like a cliff, and then base jump as he falls.
Tom Cruise watched like Black Widow or The Fast and the Furious and said, "I need to do space, but I need to do it. I need to actually go into space."
I'm sure he's talking with Elon Musk about getting SpaceX to sponsor.
Right. And Elon's saying, "But how many clones do you need?"
We can blow up a bunch of Tom Cruises in outer space if you'd like.
So anyway, so Extraction 2 is very much a throwback to that era of filmmaking. That action sequence is chef's kiss perfect.
Yes.
I was telling my wife about it. My wife is not a huge fan. My wife historically, famously, hid her face in my shoulder when we were watching The Dark Knight in the theater because it was too much violence for her. This would it's my wife. She's allowed to be a pansy.
That's fair.
As is anyone who thinks that those movies are too much for them, not just her. But I was telling her, I was like, "Oh, if you couldn't sit through The Dark Knight, you'd positively fucking implode during Extraction 2. There's a scene where someone throws like a Molotov cocktail or a grenade or something.
It's a Molotov cocktail.
And it hits Chris Hemsworth in the police shield and engulfs him, and everyone else are in flames, but he's got gear on and a shield, so he only mildly catches fire, and then proceeds to batter and punch and assault 2 or 3 guys in a row with his fire hand. It's fucking awesome.
It really is.
The woman that he rescues, the sister-in-law, I believe it is not a damsel in distress, nor is she Wonder Woman. She is
I mean, like when they start that, he hands her like a crowbar or something and says, "Just keep swinging this."
It's a shovel or like a spade or something.
Yeah. Just keep swinging.
Yeah.
And she knocks a couple of guys off him at one point, and more than once he has to break off what he's doing to stop several large men from dragging her away.
Right. And that's the thing. It's like, again, she's not Black Widow, who is 3 feet tall, but able to mow down an army of men with leg kicks. She is a woman fighting for her life with a shovel. And this is every bit as believable that that's happening in that scene. Like, first of all, I have to speak to the veracity of the cinematography in that scene. I mean, there's movie magic, and then there's this movie. I don't know how they did it. Like, I mean,
time and effort.
We've watched movies like the Battle of the Five Armies, and the Avengers Endgame. It was just a second unit directing large swaths of people swinging rubber sticks at each other and shit like that.
Yeah, they throw a few people in here, and then we digitally clone them, and they're all in mocap suits. And
this was real people.
Yeah,
these were real people having a real fight, more or less. And Chris Hemsworth is hacking and slashing and punching, and this girl is kicking and screaming and punching and swinging, and this guy's flying left and right, and
there's knives coming, there's shanks coming out, and then there's the riot squad, and it is
Hemsworth.
Chaos.
Chris Hemsworth gets hit in the back of the head, and you literally see stars and butterflies and shit around his head. Like I
with a brick.
I legit thought he was dead in that scene. I was like,
with a brick.
They killed him in the first 20 minutes. Amazing. What are they going to do for the next hour and 40?
Idris Elba comes in and takes his place.
Yeah. Well, come on, motherfuckers. Bang. And he's joined by Omar because he's coming. No, he's dead.
The actor's dead.
Yeah, him and the character. But seriously, like I want to really applaud the craft of that scene, the filmmaking. There's an intensity to it. There's a tempo. None of it looked choreographed. Like, it looks as chaotic as it is. And it's staged. It has to be staged. The amount of time, I mean, can you imagine the amount of rehearsal that took? And then the amount of takes that they had to shoot to get it from different angles to because somebody might have messed it up, whatever. Like, it is. Extraction 2 is worth watching for just that scene alone. It is really beautifully shot and beautifully crafted for what it is. It is readable because, again, we have watched a lot of frenetic fight scenes that just look like giant blobs of nothing fighting. I think I heard myself say, like, the Venom movies are two blobs of cum fighting each other, and then you have Transformers where it's two trash heaps fighting each other. Like, that's not this.
To the extent that this is unreadable, it's deliberate. Like, you lose people in. Hang on, I mean, this is a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because everyone's dressed kind of similarly, you lose people in the chaos. But you're supposed to. It's meant to replicate the feel of what's going on. So when Hemsworth loses track of the woman, you lose track of her, and you kind of go, "Wait, I hear her," and he hears her, and he goes over because that's what we're doing here.
I know you haven't left your house since Reagan was in the White House, but bear with me. I've been in a lot of mosh pits in my time. Okay, I've seen Slayer live a lot, like a dozen times.
Those mosh pits get sadder and sadder as time goes
on. Once was blindly swinging my arms and had a guy grab me and go, "It's okay, you can stop now. It's over." Okay, that's how violent the last Slayer pit I was in.
The music stopped, man.
Yeah, like the janitor that passed me by. You can quit windmilling now, you fat ass.
You're Millhouse at the end of that concert. Like, somebody come pick me up, please.
Yeah, I once got hit so hard in the Slayer show. Like, I went ass over tea kettle midair and fell straight down on my face. I don't know how it happened. It was like a blindside tackle in the NFL. But long story short, that's what this felt like. And so I was making the comparison to mosh pits. When you're in a mosh pit and you're there with your buddies, you're there with your girlfriend, whatever you are, you can lose people and you get disoriented at times. Not even like because you're ass over tea kettle, just because it's moving so fast and you're out of breath and it's dark and there are wolves after you. You don't sometimes know where you are, and you don't know where everyone else is around you in relation. And it's because it's loud because you're at a metal show. It's disorienting. That's probably the best way I can describe the jailbreak scene in Extraction 2. And you might be saying to yourself, is this my beautiful house? Is this my beautiful wife? Is this all you guys are going to talk about? Is this one fucking scene? No. Everybody in this house everybody in this film gives solid performance.
Freudian slip there?
No. Nobody in this house gives a solid performance. I am carrying this whole operation.
I believe you.
Everybody in this movie gives a solid performance. We talked about the gal from Flamin' Hot. Let me get her name right and be respectful. Ande González as Judy Montañez. We talked about, she's great in this. Who also is great? Golshifteh Farahani. I think I got it right that time. She's great. no notes. She's, the drinker, his impression of her, and I think this is very true, said she's a trained mercenary. She's going to have skill, but she's also a dainty woman in a army full of burly, ass-kicking, glass-chewing men.
You got to find ways around that. And to the
Right.
movie's credit, they don't, to the point we're raising here, they don't make her a superhero. This movie's willing to put Chris Hemsworth through the wood chipper. It's willing to do that with everybody. Like everybody, right. You do one of these movies, man, you're gonna get your ass kicked.
Right. And
So
she takes a believable beating, but is able to come out on the other side. And the whole time you're like, because I'm really getting sick of in movies where the dainty 90-pound woman is able to take on an army full of men my size, only 6'5". And you're supposed to believe this can happen. You're supposed to believe all 3 feet of Scarlett Johansson can hurricanrana, fucking train mercenaries. Sure she can. Like, come on. And do this multiple times for long stretches of time. Because like endurance isn't a thing, or muscle strength, that sort of thing. Like, come on, get the fuck out of here. So they don't make her do that. They don't make her Gal Gadot. They don't make her Scarlett Johansson. They don't make her, these ridiculous superwomen who have these extraordinary abilities. They give her just enough of the ability she would likely have in that scenario, and then the rest of the way she's fighting from underneath. It's great. I loved it. The family drama, I'm not as hard on it as the drinker was. He was like, that's the only part of the movie that doesn't really work. It's fine. This movie has to be about something more than Chris Hemsworth kicking ass. Yeah. And I think the idea of, of a son being angry that someone killed his dad, no matter how much of a bag of shit his dad was, tracks for me. And it was fine. And,
I'm with you that it's fine. I suppose my gripe with it is I can see the idea.
Mm-hmm.
There's ways I think the execution could have been a little better, is kind of mostly where I land on that.
Mm-hmm.
And look, we all know that's not the star of this movie. No. But the fact that it does feel a little bit as tacked on as it does, that's kind of my gripe with it.
I think what I'm saying is that, what were we talking about where I was like, this is just action porn?
I don't know, something recently.
It's something we talked about recently.
John Wick,
Indiana Jones. I called action porn.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, this the giant action movie, the self-contained action movie, is not action porn. It's not Gonzo. It's an actual story with just a very long fight scene in it, and it's awesome. The action means something. It's got weight to it.
As far as, again, other acting performances, Hemsworth is a really good actor. He's able to carry off not only the physicality and the presence of an unstoppable badass. There's human there. This is not Thor. This is not the god of thunder who shrugs off giant blows. This is a human.
Right.
And he carries the physical weight of that, and he carries the emotional weight of that. Like when we get little bits of his backstory here, when he talks about, I left my dying son because I couldn't help.
Finish, but I want to make a comparison. Sorry, I thought you were getting to the end.
No, I was, but to that same end, like the scene with him and his ex-wife, and she just kind of asks him, how could you leave me like that? with our dying son, and he doesn't want to talk about it at first, but what comes out is, I had to go. I couldn't fix it.
They get that.
I couldn't.
Boy,
I couldn't.
Boy,
sit
does that track for me.
It's a very male thing. Like,
Yeah.
I couldn't just sit there and watch him die and be helpless. I'd rather go get shot at because I can do something.
The end of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original, has our blonde damsel in distress sitting in the back of a truck, laughing through her trauma. You know, it's that
laughing and screaming as Leatherface does a dance with his chainsaw.
Yeah, as he limps down the road, screaming. You can't, it won't, you don't stop. Keep on rocking the shore shot. You know what song that is? That's Sabotage by Beastie Boys. Anyway,
Beastie Boys song.
That's the only Beastie Boys song. I know it sounds like Sure Shot to somebody, but it's actually Sabotage.
Thought it was a bold choice for them to put that in the trailer for the Marvels.
That's right. Anyway, intergalactic planetary sabotage, as we all know. Yeah.
That's the
Anywho,
song. I don't know why you're making a deal out of this.
We are a pair of jerk offs. So anyway, so the end of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, she's laughing, she's crying, she's like decompressing after this extended traumatic affair of terror. And I'm bringing it up because that's Chris Hemsworth at the end of this movie.
A little bit.
That everything that he's been through with this like Georgian army, and you know, the extraction itself, and then you know, and then the final fight at the end where they assault the building that they're in and everything. And by the end of it, he's just like, I have been through a lot today. Today has sucked. And
he loads up a grenade launcher and goes to the church.
So my point is like that's why I was comparing it to the end of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, because it was a very believable thing. And when you've been through a traumatic experience, you have this moment of like decompression where like your body does an adrenaline dump and you're cold and you're shivering and things hurt now and your eyes feel heavy and your breathing is labored and you're just, you know, it just feels like you've been kicked in the solar plexus by a mule. The same mule that went after our friend from Punch Drunk Movies. That mule is everywhere, by the way. Hee haw, hee haw.
Sure.
Anything else about Extraction 2?
It's really, if you know what you're getting into with it, and it's great for what it is. It's really, really good.
Yeah.
If you got the tolerance for the violence, and I mean, obviously you and I do, but it does need to be said. Like, that's a violent movie.
Yeah. One of my girlfriends asked me, it's like, is this a movie? She's not like, she's going to go see Mission Impossible with me. And she's like, you know, would I like this movie? And I'm like, what's your threshold for ultra violence? She's like, low. And I'm like, no. I watched Flamin' Hot with her. That was more her speed. And
she's going to watch Mission Impossible with you?
Well, Tom Cruise, as we all know, is a sexy man. I don't know. Let me take a consensus around the room. Apparently, you and I are the only ones that think so.
Everyone else knows he's almost 70.
I know Tom Cruise. I walked with him once upon a dream. And with that said,
sure you did.
Here we go. Part 2 of our critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
All right. It is certified fresh, baby, with a 79% tomato meter reading and an 86% audience score. And the top critics drops it down to 59%, but okay. And
a little surprised by that one.
Yeah.
You know what? Hang on. I'm not, because of how little I think about top critics.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I think
a straightforward kick-ass action movie. They probably looked at it and went, but where's the representation?
Yeah, I was gonna say they probably thought it was gauche.
Yeah.
The chat GPT says bigger, bolder, fatter. No, bigger, bolder, and in some respects even better than its predecessor. Extraction 2 isn't over the top. action thriller done right. All right.
You know what? Good chat, GPT.
You saved yourself after your flaming hot nonsense debacle. Ugh, ghost shark. Audience says the story is a little deeper than the first one, but more importantly, Extraction 2 is absolutely packed with action. And you can see Russia from your house, audience. Oy. All right.
It's the audience. What do you want from them? They're not very bright.
Let me tell you about one guy's opinion, Frank Switek. An almost perfect crystallization of what Shakespeare called sound and fury, signifying nothing, but it should suffice for viewers looking for a spectacular of empty action bombast.
Okay, for the record, I hate when people use that quote out of context.
Mm-hmm.
Because Shakespeare said it. Okay, sure, Shakespeare wrote it. Which character said it? Do you know, Dumbo? Because I do. That's from Macbeth. Do you know from when that is in Macbeth? Again, Dumbo, because I do. That's from Act 3 of Macbeth. This is the terrible, self-destructive logic of a madman desperately clinging to some justification for his atrocity, and people trot it out. Again, they don't understand the context of that quote, so they just take the words because they think they sound good, and because I can quote Shakespeare, it makes me look smart, doesn't it? Maybe to the unwashed masses, not to anyone who's actually read or seen Macbeth.
Dennis Schwartz of Dennis Schwartz Movie Review. A brainless action pick efficiently directed as if a video game. Now,
no.
We fucking reviewed John Wick.
And
I said that this is, look, I very much know when something feels like a video game and we'll call it out. No, this is not a video game. Not by a long shot.
Dude, Indiana Jones 5 is a video game.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of fetch quests.
Right.
That's not.
I think when they say video game, the video game they're talking about is like Call of Duty.
Well, you're an idiot then, who's probably never even played.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, let's see if we can find another one of your wives. I'm doing this with my left hand, by the way.
That doesn't help.
My right hand was busy.
Also, you're not making it better, Mark. You're not helping.
Right. That's what she said. Brian Lloyd of entertainment.ie. If you come to Extraction 2 with lowered expectations, basically, watch Chris Hemsworth go on a kill streak rampage for 2-ish hours. You'll have a good time with this. He's not wrong.
He's not wrong, but you resent that this movie's as good as it is, don't you?
Yeah. Grandma Susan Granger of SSG Syndicate says, since the characters are generally underwritten, it's difficult to evoke any emotional connection to the unrelenting
bull
chaos.
Bull.
Simplistically chronicled like a live-action video game. Oh, fuck these people. Jesus Christ. Dude, they think any white man with a machine gun is Call of Duty. That's what's up. That is what's up.
These people are stupid.
These people are stupid.
This is why we do this, people, because there's these people who are out here going, this movie's like a video game. Like, no, it's really not.
Hey, your wife wants to weigh in. She says, Carla Renata, Derby film critic.
Yeah, but she broke the scale yesterday, so we're still working on that.
Is Extraction 2 worth the wait? Hell to the yeah! Hemsworth.
Keep going.
Hemsworth slays from first frame to last.
Followed by a web address.
Yo, get your wife, kid. She's out of control. She's off the rails.
The state of film criticism, people.
Two snaps and a twist. Daniel Solzman of Solzy at the Movies. Extraction 2 improves upon its predecessor by delivering a sequel to the action film that is bigger, badder, bolder, fatter in every way. All right, I may have embellished that.
Yeah, but put some effort into your review. Don't just copy paste the ad read they gave you.
There's our friend. Hello, friend. It's been a while since I picked on our friend.
It is. We haven't seen Kevin Carr's been hiding from us.
Well, we made him better.
I'd like to think so.
Is the story that is my headcanon with Kevin Carr. So Kevin Carr, a fat guy at the movie, says, top of the line action, but thin on story. Is it possible that Extraction 2 may have been a bit too much a movie for Kevin Carr, fat guy at the movies?
Look, much as I like to make fun of him, he's not the only one. there's a lot of people who like couldn't quite keep up with this movie. Like, why I struggled to form an emotional connection because you didn't want to.
Roger Moore no longer wants to review films.
I'm sure that's true.
Of Movie Nation. Hemsworth's an amusing, self-aware Thor is just a brawny piece of man meat. Big meaty Hemsworth slapping meat. Trained to handle fight choreography in most scenes here. Big meaty Chris Hemsworth slapping meat.
I imagine Roger Moore's personal hell is watching a handful of episodes of professional wrestling television.
Goddamn, pal.
And I would be willing to... I would Clockwork Orange that guy to the worst of WWE Raw.
Courtney Howard of Variety, top critic, Robert Winfree's favorite entertainment periodical. Trade. The new trail is
It's
Blaze.
not even toilet paper.
A new trail is Blaze that recenters the series on bone-crunching brutality and bravado. Man, you should not see the first movie.
You clearly didn't watch the first movie.
Grace Randolph, currently back on her meds, says...
Poor woman.
Fresh off her release from the psych ward.
No longer menstruating. Are you, Grace, in fact, menstruating right now?
Grace Randolph.
How has no one taken that clip from Ghostbusters and thrown it at her?
Grace Randolph, currently after receiving her in Vegas shot, says director Sam Hargrave and Chris Hemsworth are quickly catching up to the John Wick director Chad Stahelski and Keanu Reeves. This sequel is big leap forward for the Extraction franchise.
That's not an unfair comparison, actually.
With some of the best action long takes to date. Really fun thrill ride. You know, and now I kind of feel bad for picking at her. She nailed that one. Oh, and did you see the Midnight's Edge video I put up there of Kathleen Kennedy and like the clip of her comments on that?
I don't think so.
Yeah, you should watch it. Grace Randolph, she really fucked up with the Mario Brothers movie, but she's not altogether bad. She ain't half bad, yeah, but she ain't half good neither.
So wait, what did Kathleen Kennedy do or say that was stupid this time? Because there's a lot.
The whole thing was about like her rise and fall, and Grace Randolph was like, yeah, it's clear that she has no talent, and she just
when you've lost even Grace Randolph,
yeah, when the broads have lost Grace Randolph, the war is lost. Time to go home. Give North Vietnam to the Viet Cong. All right, last one. Josh Spiegel of Slash Film. The fairest thing that could be said of Extraction 2 is that it is very much a piece it's very much of a piece with its predecessor. Terrific.
Odd turn of phrase there.
All right. Well, these are streaming movies, and so there is no money, but we do want to talk
money.
about them.
Much like Mark.
But
hey, I'm not much better. I'm not.
Ladies and gentlemen, despite the fact that these are streaming movies and there is no money, there is money to talk about. So here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
All righty. So we're doing the money one because I like to do it, and it's still fun to kind of keep up on what happened with the weekend.
Well, hang on. We're doing the money because we have to talk about a couple of things here.
So in this past weekend, Insidious: The Red Door was the #1 movie of the weekend. So yeah, as we said, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny did not retain its #1 spot despite not having major competition in its second week.
You know, in fairness, like you and I, a little bit of crow to eat here. We both said we thought it would retain. Like we thought it would take a hefty drop, but we weren't sure what would
I was really shocked that Insidious was the #1 movie, but I think like word of mouth got around on Indiana Jones that this wasn't really worth it.
Yeah.
And like we said, everyone that was going to see it saw it the opening weekend and were like, now we're done.
So, Here's how bad Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny did. The movie that opened at number 3, technically below it when the weekend was tabulated, actually beat it. I think it was Friday or Saturday.
Yeah.
Like,
that's a Sound of Freedom, which is apparently, and I learned this by watching a Midnight Size video on the subject matter. We're not allowed to talk about the subject matter of Sound of Freedom, but needless to say, as gross and horrifying as the subject matter happens to be, it still, on at least one day of theatrical exhibition, beat the giant tentpole Disney Lucasfilm movie.
It beat your $300 million Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
This movie made for $14 million with an ad budget the size of my...
with an ad budget on one of my credit cards.
Like, they spent less on this money than you guys paid Harrison Ford for Indiana Jones 5.
Yeah. All right. So Insidious was the number 1 movie. Indiana Jones dropped from 1 to 2 with a 54.6 drop.
Actually,
not as much as what we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be the 70s.
In fairness to that point, it also opened a lot softer, and we probably should have counted on that. But yeah, it took a steep drop, and that thing's going to lose a ton of money.
Yep. Sound of Freedom debuted at number 3. Just talked about that. Elemental.
Hang on, I got to talk about Sound of Freedom for just a second. So, because this is the stupid world we live in, Mark, the stupid world we live in. The reviews for Sound of Freedom are just some of the worst I've ever seen.
What makes them so bad?
Someone, I think it was Rolling Stone, called it a QAnon adjacent paranoid humor.
Fuck yourself. Jesus
I'm not kidding.
Like the subject matter itself doesn't really exist.
This is the thought process, but no, look, I get that Jim Caviezel has on occasion aired some very weird views on social media.
Really? The director of The Passion of the Christ may
Star,
have
not director. Mel Gibson directed.
Right, you're right. I misspoke. Star of The Passion of the Christ may have said something weird on social media. The devil, you say.
Once or twice. The halo effect and its reverse are very much in play here. Nobody seems to want to give the movie a fair shake. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But
now I want to.
You go coming out and calling this adjacent to QAnon conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, see,
no,
this has the same effect on me that like Cuties did, where if you're gonna make this big of a deal about it, now I want to see it, and that kind of defeats your whole point. We got to move this on because I want to wrap shortly. But
yeah, I know. But just as a brief aside, part of the reason we do our thing with critics is they're just so apparently being anti-thing you can't talk about on YouTube is now a right-wing conspiracy theory. The movie doesn't even delve into the conspiracy side of some of that crap. And believe me, there's some kooks. But because the culture war has subsumed everything, this is where we are.
Elemental, which is a sleeper. I don't know if it's a hit, but it's sleeper doing well.
It's still losing. My hunch is it's still going to wind up losing money.
Yeah, well, we can take a closer look at it in a second. It's one of those where it opened really soft and then got a tiny bit of legs.
Yeah, it wound up having pretty good legs in no small part because everything else that came out after that sucked the horn.
Yeah. And we'll get to sucking the horn when we talk about the Flash. But Spider-Man,
pay attention, people. It's not going to show up for a while.
She said, "Hello, Winfree. I love you. Come join the joyride."
I don't know that song.
Join the joyride. She said, "Hello, you fool."
Former movie studio Lionsgate trying desperately.
About to be bought by Pornhub. Yeah, that debuted at number 6. Oh well. What's it saying that Plane might be their most successful movie this year? No, it'll be fucking stupid John Wick. No Hard Feelings dropped from 4 to 7. Transformers currently PVOD dropped from 5 to 8.
Also losing a boatload of money. And for the record, to anyone out there wondering, wait a minute, wasn't Transformers slightly more reasonably budgeted at less than $200 million? Yes, but look at how much of its movie comes from China, and believe it or not, movie studios only get 25% of gross receipts from China instead of the 50 or so % they get from stuff in the States.
The Little Racism dropped from 7 to 9. Teeny bit.
Just a small. There's racial undertones. We didn't actually say anything.
Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken, the worst performing movie set out by DreamWorks
ever. Which
Yeah.
is kind of a shame. Apparently, it's not the worst movie in the world, but that
The
thing has no. It's got no audience. It's got no audience.
Oh, there was an audience. My studio audience saw it, and the studio audience thought it was pretty good. Yeah. Kraken.
It was decent.
She says it was decent, and I trust her opinion. I've only known her for 3 weeks.
Good for kids.
The Flash. Oy, now
there we go. Number
there
11,
it is.
The Flash.
The Flash. You and I had a conversation earlier today
Boom.
where we talked about like the 3 worst modern bombs in history: The Flash, Ben-Hur, and John Carter.
They're among the 3 worst.
Yeah. When we were debating which one might have been the worst based on any number of factors, but they're saying like in modern movie history, The Flash might be the biggest bomb in theatrical exhibition. That is fucking impressive.
I'm gonna give Indy another couple of weeks to figure that itself out, but if it drops hard, Indy might wind up technically losing more money.
Do you think that the CEO of like Paramount, after Babylon, is now looking at like these other studios going, now you know how it feels, motherfuckers? Like, I'm just wondering.
Probably. You know what he's doing?
Yeah.
He's going, I should have released it in 2023, and its bombing would have been hidden behind the bombs of Indiana Jones and the Flash and the Little Mermaid.
Suddenly your bomb isn't quite as big when it's being dropped amongst an entire bunch on the beaches of Normandy.
Little bomb.
Yeah, little bomb. Anyway, Asteroid City dropped from 9 to 12, Past Lives 12 to 13, Guardians 10 to 14, I'm Your Boogeyman 11 to 15, The Blackening, which is now PVOD, 13 to 16. The Lesson debuted at 17, Biosphere 22, Once Upon a Time in Uganda, 28, Amanda, a girl I once knew, at number 30, and that is The Weekend That Was. Worldwide. On the dime, baby. All right.
Nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. Super Mario, still number 1. Guardians, dead as a doornail at 841 million. Fast X, you.
That's a respectable number.
Fast X, you piece of shit, still making money, you and your negative talk. Yeah, it's 700 million. What other movie on this list can make that claim? Not even Spider-Man can say it's made 700 million as I'm looking at this chart right now.
Yeah, but hang on. 1, Spider-Man might. 2, Spider-Man didn't need to make $700 million to be profitable.
My point is like every week since the middle of May, I tell you, Fast X is going to be okay. Fast X is going to make money. And every weekend you tell me the same thing. You overcook the sauce. You also tell me, because I'm now very Italian, you also tell me, Fast X ain't going to make no money. There ain't no such thing as Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny. And I tell you, Robert Winfree, I tell you every time, Fast X is making money.
I tell you, barely, between a near $300 million budget.
You didn't do that with an accent like I did.
I don't do accents. I'm very bad at them.
Okay.
Another $100 million in marketing. Fast X, if it makes money, it's only a little bit.
Yeah, it's $1.50. The Little Mermaid dying at about 500 million.
And not making them money.
No. Ant-Man and the Wasp, just, what did you call it last week? Just fucking zombie, whatever, leaning against the building.
Fentanyl zombie.
It's a fentanyl zombie, just chilling. Just hanging out. John Wick, 427, Transformers, 408, Creed, 277, and Flash hanging on by the hair of a vagina at 262 million.
Hang on. This weekend, gone.
Yeah.
Flash is gone from the top 10. Elemental might surpass it next week.
This weekend it's starting tomorrow is Mission Impossible.
Yeah, and that's going to take its spot almost immediately.
That's going to eat its fucking lunch.
Oh, dude, wait, go back down. Go back down for just a second. I need to see Indy.
Currently number 12.
And number 12, not even beating Elemental yet.
Yep, right there between Elemental and Dungeons and Dragons.
Indy, your $300 million Lucasfilm blowout. And by blowout, I mean they just nuked the darn studio.
Yeah. Well, folks, this week is Mission Impossible.
And that's the only thing that matters.
And then we get our double header of Oppenheimer and Barbie.
Guess which one? Take a guess, people. Which one are we going to cover here?
And then we're doing both, but only on Damn You Hollywood we're doing Oppenheimer. And then Haunted Mansion. and then the Meg 2, and
That'll be
then
fun.
we're gonna do another double header of The Last Voyage and Gran Turismo because like a girl, I had to be a people pleaser and please everybody. So we're doing a split show.
Why are we doing that again? Why are we doing this split
Because
show there?
everyone's a jerk. Because I think Pat wanted to do The Last Voyage of Demeter. Jason wanted to do Gran Turismo, and everyone's a girl and won't leave me alone and won't cooperate or do what I ask them to do. So now here I am doing 2 movies at the same time, and yet again I'm in a threesome I didn't want to be in. Goddamn, pal. Oh, and Dorian Price will be there if his fucking internet works. Goddamn. And then monumental change in the order of the universe. Damn You Hollywood is now moving to Mondays, starting with Blue Beetle. Yep. Starting, though I say that, and then the following week, Alexis Hana and Zach, the Lego Maniac, will be doing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I hope they have fun with that one.
Yeah, Mutant Mayhem. Alexis is going to host the show by herself, and much like Cheers, we're going to hope she doesn't burn the place down. So that's what's going on in the week of movies. So yeah, that list of movies right there. Mission Impossible is the number 1 movie of this weekend coming up. Barbie will be the number 1 movie of the weekend the following.
Probably.
And it might repeat depending on how good it is, or Haunted Mansion will be the number 1 movie of the following weekend. So
I don't know about that. Barbie might.
Barbie is tracking really well, like better than you thought it would.
Well, no, hang on. Here's always been my thought about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to do fine its opening week. Some of the latest trailers have led me to believe.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a family movie, I don't know how much rewatch value it's going to have. So
I don't know.
Question.
This is one
question.
So this is one where word of mouth might bring in the young adults. I've heard Ryan Gosling's a scene stealer in this. He's like the best part of the movie. Ryan Gosling's a hottie patati. The girl,
allegedly.
The audience not a huge fan of Tom Cruise because they're children, but Ryan Gosling gets the.
Well. Look, this is what happens when you talk about someone who's in the age-appropriate demographic that you're trying to...
It's fair. That one, you popped the studio audience, by the way. All right, so that wraps up our review of Extraction 2, Electric Boogaloo, and Flamin' Hot. Next week, like I said, we're doing Mission Impossible on Monday, and then we're back on Tuesdays with Oppenheimer, and then Haunted Mansion. Yesterday, because this is Shark Week, at least it will be the week of the 23rd because my weeks were off.
You and Jason talked about sharks.
Yep, we did. Hey, February we do black shit, June we do gay shit, and July we do shark shit. So the shark shit that we did was Shark Exorcist, Sharks of the Corn, and Go Shark, and only one of those might have been a real movie. Tomorrow.
Okay, hang on. Which of those was closest to being an actual movie?
Go Shark was an actual sci-fi original movie, and it's the closest to looking like a real movie of the 3 of them. The other 2 look like student films.
That's fair.
Actually, one looked like a student film, and one looked like an interrogation technique.
I'm assuming that Shark Exorcist looks like a student film, whereas Sharks of the Corn, like you broadcast this onto the big screen in your internment camp.
Yeah, pretty much. Speaking of internment camps, tomorrow Gavin Napier, former casual hero, will be on to discuss the last season of Ted Lasso, of which I cried a lot. This one hit me straight in the feels and then kept on hitting me.
You are
like my dad.
Hang on.
Yes.
Season 3 is the weakest season of Ted Lasso.
It's uneven.
From a craft perspective, it's the weakest.
It's the most uneven of the 3, yes.
It's also it feels like also the one where they decided, okay, someone got in our ear about messaging, because the other 2 don't have a lot of it.
No.
3, again, they get into the messaging a little bit. Like that said, like the worst season of Ted Lasso is still better than a giant chunk of other television.
It's the reason I review things like Ted Lasso and not things like Secret Invasion.
What's Secret Invasion?
I don't know, but I've heard it's some garbage show. Anyway, we're re-airing our review of Speaking of Hanging Off Planes.
For the record, because we know what Secret Invasion is. Apparently, so unbearably bad and or boring. After the second episode, no one's even complaining about it.
Just laying back and thinking of England, eh?
or just not watching.
Anyway, we're re-airing our review of Mission Impossible: Rogue Nation, and then Sean, because I overbooked this week, Sean will be on to talk the first 3 Men in Black movies with Will Smith and what's his nuts?
Tommy Lee Jones.
That's the one. Everyone Loves a Bad Guy Saturdays is Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Metal Hammer of Doom Sundays is Slipknot. And then Mission Impossible is next Monday, and that's all she wrote. And then there'll be a bunch of canned hams because I got trips and stuff to go to. I got naked karaoke, Robert Winfree. How do you think about that? You picture that in your mind's eye? Naked karaoke? I got naked karaoke coming up. Don't you understand?
I don't care.
I know you do. All right, but not in the way that you think. So anyway, plugs.
Okay, allow me to rephrase. Assuming nothing goes so horribly bad that you wind up calling me and having to unburden your psyche, I don't care.
Fair enough. All righty. Show us where you pissed from.
No. But if you want to care about other stuff that I do, and I don't blame you if you don't. I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. MLW stuff on Thursday, which I have to now begin starting all of my reviews with a moral objection to MLW.
Oof. I don't want to hear the explanation. Just
No. I'm going to tell you the explanation because it deserves it.
Can you do it in 5 words or less?
Don King is involved.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope.
You're bullshit.
Okay, hang on. Since now I have to explain this.
Ugh.
So for the last year or so,
Isn't he like 100 and dead?
He's not dead. He is like 100.
Okay.
So for the last year or so, they've been running this thing where their next top guy, a very uninteresting fellow named Alex Kane, has been part of a group. It's him and one other dude, and then nameless goons from whatever city they're in, called the Beaumaye Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been trying to get this over and trying to get it over, and sort of it got over just through the blunt force of repetition. It's not actually over. It's just you've done it enough that people accept that it exists.
Okay.
The angle related to this is, wait, who's financing this fight club?
And it's Don King.
It's Don King. This was revealed after Kane won the MLW title at their pay-per-view on Saturday.
Do me a favor. Just let me know if Trevor Bryant ends up winning a title.
I don't know who that is, but okay.
He was the WBA heavyweight champion before Daniel Dubois beat him.
Okay. I will do that.
Remember where they stripped it off of Manuel Char and there was that whole thing?
Sure.
Do you not follow boxing news? Or did you just block the stuff from your mind? We covered the Trevor Bryan Berman Servern fight for the WBA title.
I do vaguely recall that.
Yes. That was like one step above bum fights.
Just barely. It was not good.
What else you got?
So hang on. So I have to start my MLW reviews with a moral objection to MLW because of Don King.
Yep.
I cover WWE SmackDown on Fridays, and once again, Vince McMahon, not the worst person in professional wrestling anymore.
It's a race to the bottom.
Don King. I occasionally cover and pinch it for other professional wrestling stuff over at 411mania.com, so you might occasionally see me over on AEW's Dynamite or Rampage very occasionally. Not so much Collision because that usually overruns with my UFC stuff on Saturdays. And since we're moving to Mondays, I won't be doing Raw anymore, so there's that.
You're welcome.
I don't know if I should thank you for that or not, because I get paid for that.
It's fair. How much you get paid?
I'm not going to say it on air.
I don't know. But I might have to start paying you for Damn You Hollywood if that's the case, because now I feel bad.
I will tell you what they pay me, and you can decide if it's worth PayPaling me.
Okay.
And I cover UFC events on Saturdays. So this last Saturday was UFC 290. No joke, no gimmick. One of the best UFC events, top to bottom, in years. Truly a phenomenal night of fights. Main card delivered. Most of the prelims delivered. Robbie Lawler retired on an epic win.
Oh, good for Robbie Lawler.
Knocked out poor Nico Price in like 38 seconds. one of the few good retirements you'll see in MMA. There are very few of them.
All right.
And if you want my full thoughts on that, you can listen to the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, where I talk about the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts. Review of that event, a preview of, hey, you know how they're following up the best pay-per-view event they've done in forever, Mark? You want to guess what it is this Saturday?
What?
An Apex show headlined by Holly Holm and Myra Buena Silva.
Oh my God, they're really doing it in the Apex?
They do.
I thought they stopped doing that because now they can have audiences. Why would they still have it in the gym?
Because it's cheap, and they can sell the 200 seats they have for premium. They don't have to travel. They don't have to, it's just cheap and efficient for them to do it there. So they keep doing it there.
Okay.
Does it suck as a viewer? Yes. Yes, it does. I don't pretend otherwise, but most given fight nights, they're still there. They're still at the Apex.
All right.
It's easier. So there's any and all of that. There's a preview of that. I talk a little bit about John Jones and Stipe Miocic because that got made. This week I get to talk about Francis Ngannou and Tyson Fury because that got made official.
Woohoo! I don't want to talk about it now. I don't want to.
No. I know. I'm just your random joy about
I'm just glad they didn't make Tyson Fury versus Shakur Stevens or some shit. Drag a guy up from Bridgerweight to throw in there for Tyson Fury to knock him out.
So instead they brought someone who's literally never had a professional boxing fight.
You know what? Neither has fucking Jake Paul. It's fine. I don't care.
Jake Paul has had several professional boxing fights at this point.
Yes, but he fought an actual boxer. He lost.
Sort of. There's an argument for him to have won that, but that's not that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll be talking about the fallout from all of that. So again, if you're interested in the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts, I record that Sunday evening. So Monday, first thing, you can find me wherever you find podcasts. And yeah, Damn You Hollywood next week about Mission Impossible, which is that might hit the $1 billion mark. It might get there.
All right, folks, thank you for joining us here on Damn You Hollywood. It's been fun. For Robert Winfree, I'm Mark Radulich. Be well, be safe, and behave.